Hey, but we're talking about individual subsidies here. What we were talking about before was governmental subsidies for corporations.
But see, those are individual entities, and I would say with any subsidy, I almost like the reasoning on a feeling basis of supporting a fledgling industry. But the problem is, free money is like crack. Nobody gives it up. So if you give it to a small company when they're small, they're going to find a way to keep getting it even when they're big.
Yeah. They're going to find a way to keep
They won't give it up. They'll start lobbying. They'll be like, oh, you need to give it to us. So you've been supporting us all this time. We're not going to be competitive.
And if you take it away,
they start doing that job.
Yeah, they do that.
The other thing is you put the idea in people's head that the government should be doing it. You're violating the principle that the government has no business doing
Farmers
this.
are like super hardcore dependent on these subsidies.
Yes.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Welcome to Musing with Menchaca. This is episode 44 of Musing with Menchaca. This is the conversational podcast where 4 friends or family members gather around these microphones, each with their own topics to talk about for your amusement. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, share us with your friends, and subscribe for more content. I'm your host, Luis Menchaca, and to my right, I got the ageless immortal Tony.
Yep.
And next to him, the soldier of fortune Juan. Damn, okay. The marketing guru Carlo. No business card. Nothing. That's fine. So, if you like that, did I say the plug, the like, share, and subscribe, all that kind of stuff? Oh, yeah. Be sure to do that. Like, share, subscribe. There you go. Follow me on my social media.
Sorry, we're a little rusty.
Twitter at Chocolaka88, PSN, Steam, XBL, Twitch, all Chocolaka88, all across the board, easy to remember. And be sure to drop a comment with any reactions to anything that we say. And you can catch this whole show on iTunes and Google Play. Link in the description. All right, cool.
Did good.
I'm getting better at this.
Yeah. You got to keep doing it, though. If you stop,
you get rusty.
You get rusty, man.
There you go. All right. So this is a
follow-up.
It's a follow-up episode. I was going to say, as much as we kind of call this episode 44, this is more like episode 43.5.
43 deuce.
Part two.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first thing I want to talk about is basically since Tony wasn't here, I'm throwing Tony in under the bus kind of thing.
No, actually, he was here. He just wasn't here.
I was here in spirit.
He was,
and then a little bit of.
He was listening.
But what I'm trying to say is, I want to give Tony this platform to open up and talk about anything that he disagreed with on any topic last week.
Absolutely.
I would say it would be easier for me, like, if y'all revisited a little bit, like if y'all summarized what happened last time, and that way I can kind of go off of it because I didn't super do.
Well, we touched up on a lot of topics. I think
I got them written down.
What I would want to do is just kind of cover the main one of the main topics that we talked about was gun control and
net neutrality, gun control,
and
the human condition, hashtag delete Facebook were the 4 main topics.
But the top 2 ones were
net neutrality and
net neutrality.
hashtag
delete Facebook. Kinda?
Yeah, I would say those 2 are the top 2.
And I think somebody threw a comment in there about the Analytica thing. We're trying to say that we didn't explain it right or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know who that schmuck was.
I thought it was your friend.
Schmuck. It was one of your friends.
It wasn't.
No, I'm just kidding. It was Tony.
No, it wasn't Tony.
It wasn't.
Oh, no, I didn't recognize. I didn't recognize the
else.
name. I think it was a female actually.
Oh, it was Tony.
No.
What was it?
I didn't say anything about Cambridge. I don't think.
Cambridge Analytica, and it looked like a female's face on the little thing.
It was somebody. I don't think it was Tony. It was
okay.
Tony.
Okay. Well,
why does he have a female?
Like feminine?
Because I thought you were logged in under your mom's account.
Well, I did something from
you
somewhere.
You did something from your mom's account.
Bro,
and then
why are you logging into your mom's account, man?
I didn't have. I had intermittent access to.
All right. Okay. So
but anyways.
Okay. Let's. What was the first one? Let's go from
net neutrality.
Net neutrality was the first one?
Well, the first one was politics. It was just talking about our political views and stuff, just in general.
Okay, we're going to get into that a little bit. Okay, so what about the other one? Net neutrality?
Net neutrality.
You were making a case for getting rid of net neutrality, right?
Yes.
Yeah, or as to the degree that I understand it. Because,
okay, go ahead.
Like, I come from the perspective that usually everything that government does is like wrong, or it's like a big giant sledgehammer. Kind of like if you think of like a nuclear weapon versus a gun. A nuclear weapon is good in certain situations, but it's very extreme, very big, and it's going to be very messy, very like that. That's usually how I think of the the federal government and pretty much all government, but the federal being the biggest government, it would be the closest to a nuclear weapon. So when you use the federal government for something, it's like taking the biggest sledgehammer in the history of the world for any problem. So if it's a small problem and you're using the federal government, it's almost...
Well, an example to your point was in the early days, like in the 1900s, they would use the Morse code. The government controlled that. And they were the ones that were operating the communication lines. They were using the railroads and the communication lines for that. But it was losing money like every year. And then after 15 or 20 years, I don't even know how long, they decided to privatize that. And it was then that it became a profitable ordeal thing. Venture. So that's what you're talking about. Just in general, when you get government involved, there's a lot of red tape.
Yeah, there's no incentive. There's no good incentive
to
there's
profit out of something, or
to make it like sustainable. Actually, care about the customers, like that their quality, listening to feedback, because you're getting paid regardless. So
and you're the post office,
and you're against subsidizing stuff.
UPS,
Wait, and we're talking about subsidizing. You're against subsidizing,
well, he's talking about just in general.
You're in general talking about.
Involved with
in general, because the subsidy thing, even that, I was thinking about what y'all were telling me that there could be situations, and that's a powerful argument to say it would be good for the government to support certain fledgling industries to make them grow up. And I was trying to
not fledgling, developing
industries. That's small ones that you can kind of keep them safe for a little bit before they get
and to keep it in context is during what period of time, in 08, for example, 09, we had the housing market going down, we had the vehicle, the cars industry.
But see, even those, that was all government.
But they had to.
No,
right?
but
actually, they didn't have to.
I'm just saying, in the context of it, they give.
You're saying they had to bail them out.
They had to bail them out.
No, but they only had to bail them out
Otherwise,
because they created the situation too. Because they created those weird incentives to give people subprime mortgages and stuff.
I'm with Tony on that. They did.
And I understand where they were coming from, because they wanted to give it was part a feeling guilty for the past races of America, and it was part feeling poor people they're downtrodden, we should help them out. So I can see it coming from a good place.
The intent was good. Was we're gonna give these people who normally can't penetrate these neighborhoods to get loans to go into these nice neighborhoods.
Correct.
But that's not what happened.
And I understand where they were coming from. It's just the problem is they couldn't afford, they assumed racism when they could have just assumed other factors, more important factors. And there was probably a little bit of that in there, but a lot of people, if you can't afford a house, lowering the interest rate, people don't understand the interest rate determines if a bank is good at all, the interest rate is telling the bank how likely you are to default. So if there's 100 of you and you all have this, you're in the same bracket of interest rate, that means if they're factoring in the risk of your certain profile, so that if the normal percentage of let's say this, if the normal interest rate for your group, whatever the group is 3%, that means if there's 100 of y'all, maybe 2% of y'all will default, but they'll make enough money from everyone else, their interest,
to
cover the losses.
And
banks do it.
Banks
they make a profit,
right? But banks they puol these.
That's what he's talking about.
But see, when you start artificially, when you start messing with the interest rate, you're mispricing the risk like that. And what happened is, at least to my understanding, there was a lot of people who should have had very high interest rates to the point that they didn't want to get
Some of it had to do with interest rate. The other half was
regulating.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. So some of it was when a government guarantees a loan, that's a risk-free loan.
So let's start.
That allows for shady crap to happen.
Let's start with the government part. In 1997, 98, I forgot when Bill Clinton signed this law. He was saying, I want every American to have the opportunity to buy
and that's the thing that goes from HUD.
So that's where HUD got this, they got this money
the directive
and the directive to go and get that done.
Yeah,
right.
The way that
it was deregulation.
That's where they deregulated.
They deregulated
certain parts about getting approved.
Yes,
you could have just said, "My name is Mickey Mouse."
Yeah,
and
people actually
too easy.
They made it easy.
Well, see, because if the government wasn't involved at all, a bank, if there was no regulation in this system, the bank is trying to make money, right? So they wouldn't make.
No, it was regulated before that.
I know. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying
in a vacuum.
Yeah, let's say in a vacuum, a bank just with no regulation, it's a business, so it's trying to make money. So it's only going to loan out enough money. It's going to loan out money to people that are going to pay it back.
Absolutely.
All right. So, and then it might start getting a little, if it's going to get riskier, it'll charge you a higher interest rate, but it'll charge everyone in your category a higher interest rate so that, okay, maybe you're in a category that's a little more high risk and 20% of you instead of like 5% are going to default on your loans. Then the interest rate will balance out those losses and also give them a profit.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
so
profits.
Managing risk.
Managing the interest rate by itself should normally tell you how risky they perceive you. Now, they could always be wrong. No individual business, no individual loan manager is going to get it 100% right in every situation. But on average, over time, it will get closer and closer to the real risk.
We're talking about individual subsidies here. What we were talking about before was governmental subsidies for corporations.
But see, those are individual entities. And I would say with any subsidy, I almost like the reasoning on a feeling basis of supporting a fledgling industry. But the problem is, free money is like crack. Nobody gives it up. So if you give it to a small company when they're small, they're going to find a way to keep getting it even when they're big.
Yeah. They're going to find a way
They won't give it up. They'll start lobbying. They'll be like, oh, you need to give it to us. You've been supporting us all this time. We're not going to be competitive.
And if you take it away,
they start doing that.
They do that.
The other thing is you put the idea in people's head that the government should be doing it. You're violating the principle that the government has no business doing
Farmers
this.
are like super hardcore dependent on these subsidies.
Yeah, like even the
you just made a
thing.
really important point.
Yeah.
Your point is on point to my point.
Okay.
And so let me transition to that. So what the culture in government has been that they have been involved in subsidies and it's not even really subsidids is
in everything.
supporting
Yeah,
certain
it's
industries.
messing with people's money and determining who the winners and losers are.
Right,
to a certain
exactly.
degree.
And a candidate, what's his name from Delaware, the Romney or not Delaware, Mitt Romney said, Washington doesn't pick the winners and losers; they pick the losers.
Yeah, they only pick the losers.
They only pick the losers, right?
Okay.
So you're right. You made a really good point, and that was that the government subsidizes individuals, corporations, and they push these because it benefits the money.
Because like if they give
our what is it called, the GDP or the
well, it benefits even their individual bank account. Because like if I'm a congressman, right, and I'm saying, hey, we need to support my local districts, blah blah blah,
or our states,
or even our state, whatever I'm representing, there's a high incentive for whoever's getting the money to be like, oh, we appreciate you helping our business out. We wouldn't have survived without you. Here's a few extra donation dollars, and now it creates this. You're basically paying them at that point to give you this money.
But that's the culture.
You're getting a cut. It's
that's
like
the
a
culture,
commission.
right?
Yes.
We know, for example,
but it's the culture
Martin,
now.
They employ people in Louisiana, Oklahoma,
yeah,
Texas.
Specifically to mess with these congressmen.
Because they give votes.
Yes.
Right?
But see, that's part of the culture. It's a culture of buying people's votes.
What your argument is that you want to break the culture and say, hey, let's start from scratch.
I wouldn't even say break the culture. I just want to go back to how it was. Like we weren't perfect when we were started, but there was no
to do that. A Ponzi scheme, a person that's in charge of a Ponzi scheme can never say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start from scratch. Let's start over. You can't.
No, you cannot
unravel.
Okay, I'll say this: you can take steps in the right direction. Because if you can't unravel
the whole goddamn thing,
no, you can take slow steps in the right direction. You can.
No, you cannot.
Yeah,
no, you
can't. I mean, no. I'll say it like this: there's definitely going to be pain. There's no version of this without pain. No, but this is what I'm saying. 4 of the biggest 5 industries, well, I'll say this.
One industry is going down.
You said it's a Ponzi scheme, right?
It's kind of a Ponzi scheme.
Okay,
I think more of an analogy.
Okay, but if it's like a Ponzi scheme, I'll say this: most Ponzi schemes, or all Ponzi schemes, end eventually, and when they end, it's a horrific blood in the streets kind of whatever. What I'm saying is, so it's gonna happen if you wait.
But you stop the bleeding eventually.
But we didn't learn from 08.
Yeah.
But we didn't learn from 08 because nobody felt the pain.
All right.
Everybody felt the pain.
No, we didn't. Because
a lot of people did.
No, the pain should have been a lot worse. They blunted a lot of people.
Executives committed suicide because they lost a lot of stock.
No, a lot of the wrong people felt the pain.
It wasn't
the people that made the bad decisions didn't feel the pain. The investors of those companies didn't feel the pain.
After this
the people
happened,
that needed to learn the lesson.
Yeah, after this lesson happened, that's when they made a law where the CFO and the CEO have to sign it, and they're going to go to fucking prison if they start fudging the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay?
But see, they shouldn't even have to do that.
Well, before.
Some of that is okay. Some of that is okay. But they wouldn't even have to have
accountability.
It's a problem that they created, and they created another problem on top of it. I'm okay with accountability, especially if the shareholders want it. Because at the end of the day, it should be for the investors. If I own a piece of this company, I will tell them what I want the people running my company to do.
Right. I agree with a lot of things you're saying. Okay, I agree with a lot of things you're saying, but there's an opposite portion to that. Mm-hmm. If government is not involved, you're gonna destabilize a lot of shit. And what I mean by that, hold on. if there are no government rules, laws, regulations on how businesses run, then nobody would invest.
Well, I would say I'm not.
Third world countries, they don't have these regulations. And guess what? Nobody invests in these.
Well-
And people inside those countries don't invest in this shit. We can't even trust putting our money over there because there's no regulation. They accept
There's no
bribes.
trust.
Well,
There's no trust.
I wouldn't
There's
say that.
nothing
I would
like
say
that's the something you have to realize that something that America does great on or pretends to do great on is we go after the people that are responsible for lying, fudging numbers. We have the IRS. We have all these fucking entities that check businesses to make sure that keep them in check. If these things aren't in there, then people wouldn't invest, and then fucking nope, there wouldn't be any money pumped into that industry.
Well,
is what I'm saying.
I would say what I'm saying right now. I just
It's a
want to see.
necessary evil.
I would say I don't know how much government we need.
Yeah.
It could be in theory, maybe right now or even someday it's zero. But I'm not saying it is. But I want to see how close we can get.
Right.
Okay. So that's where I'm saying I don't know exactly where it is, but it's going to be a lot closer to zero than it is to where we
And
are now.
The only reason why it's a necessary evil is because we humans are evil. Like we will find a way
Greed
to
is
take
good.
Greed is
to take the mile.
But see, that's
You
why
get
I
the
think
inch,
no. But
you
see,
wanna
that's why I
take the
think
mile.
government is bad because government is made of what?
Greed,
people.
yeah, greed is everywhere.
So
Greed
the
is
evil
everywhere.
that's a problem for us as
Yeah.
individuals is still going to be a problem in the government because the government is just a group of people.
right.
now government should be involved in terms of regulation, in terms
It depends.
of policy.
It
Yeah.
really
You
depends.
know, listen, we have the judicial, we have the executive.
No,
we have
okay. Like I can give you police, I can give you judges, I can give you the military, but really after that, like it's all super debatable.
Hold on. No, transportation.
Mm.
Yeah,
Post
transportation.
office.
Sorry.
No public transportation.
Public
Post
transportation.
office.
Let me tell you something. Who would pay for? Hey, somebody came knocking on your door. I need $10,000. Why? Because we got to build this road. Will you do it? Will you pay him $10,000?
Do I? If I have $10,000 and it's a good investment,
I'm
for
like,
me,
hey, Tony. You know what? We're gonna collect $10,000 from you because your neighbor doesn't want to pay. It would have been $5,000, but your neighbor doesn't want to pay. So then what?
okay, well then it's not worth $10,000 to me. So you have to
Okay,
go to
well
the
then
next
now
guy
you
and get
can't get out of your
20,000.
driveway or your road because we can't repair
Well,
these roads.
no. If I can't get out, if I
Public
don't pay,
transportation
no,
has
look,
to be a government
look.
red.
If I
Led.
don't pay the $10,000, I know I'm not going to get the road. So you're asking me to pay. It's like this: if I buy a phone,
Right.
I know what I'm getting for the most part,
Right.
and I'll be like, that's a good deal. So if you come to me with a road,
Oh,
and you
hey,
can't sell me,
by the way, your tower by your road,
It's subsidized,
we
it's
can't get to it because the road's all fucked up. So
No,
you
it'll
don't
be-
have phone service right now.
no, it'll be part of my price.
And
When I pay
part-
my
and
phone
by the
bill,
way,
when I pay the phone
part of
bill,
the reason why
part of the
you
price
only
would
pay $50 a month for that phone is because it's subsidized. The government subsidizes
No.
the company. Yeah, it is.
no,
absolutely.
they also do taxes on
the
it too,
FCC,
and
yeah,
it's
they
more
do.
than like
They-
20%.
I know that.
But by them
these
collecting
corp-
taxes just means
these
it proves that they get
corporations-
money.
Listen to me. These corporations get the money from the government and from you too.
Exactly,
so.
but see, I don't want to
So,
either. I
let's
want.
not pretend
I
to
don't.
be-
No, I'm not pretending. I'm saying I don't want that. That right now it's this murky area where
There-
it feels like they're just so interconnected.
Here-
you just have to let them do all this
here-
crazy
here's the
corrupt
thing.
shit.
Here, Tony,
And
Tony.
I don't feel like
okay, I get what
that's.
you're saying.
This-
You
this
know,
is where-
I don't want that.
this is
'Cause
where I
look,
have to-
Let me say
Yeah,
this
yeah,
real quick.
okay,
How
okay,
you were
point
saying
there.
with the third world countries, the
kinda
thing with
hard
them
to tell
is
the-
not the lack of regulation. It's a problem of culture. America was founded with the kind of I can say Judeo-Christian values
Slaves.
and. Slaves also,
Okay.
but Judeo-Christian work ethic,
Right.
values, the whole shebang, everything
Started
you find in the
over again,
Bible,
yeah.
right? It also came with the values of the Enlightenment, reason,
Yes.
logic, consistency,
Yes.
rule of
Democracy.
law, English common law. We took what the British model was and we kind of tweaked it a little bit, and it worked, right? So it was very basic but super simple in its outcome. Like the whole point of this was the grand experiment, the first time in history, and people were judging us. Everyone thought we were going to fail because most democracies end in blood.
Yeah, they
you know,
do.
they just go on a killing spree
And one
just
day we
kill
may
everybody.
very well.
Maybe.
we
Well, but
don't
see,
know.
no, but see, one of the unique things about
Why was the
America
Roman
is
Empire
we're
so
not-
damn
Roman
great?
Empire,
Yeah,
Because they have roads.
No,
and they have people pay.
it might have
No,
helped.
they had roads.
It might have
and
helped.
aqueducts.
Yeah, they had the aqueducts. I'll say that. But we're not a democracy. We're a republic. And our founders understood that a pure democracy was not
Right,
good. That's
right.
why
No, we know
democracy
that.
is
Yeah.
not in any of our founding
Right,
whatevers.
right.
But the reason why they did a republic is we're supposed to hold ourselves to a higher standard of the law, something that is objectively true.
No,
So it's not that a person is in charge like a king, because at the time we were founded, everyone
Okay.
they couldn't imagine a world
So
where
let
you
me ask you
wouldn't
this
have a
question:
king.
why aren't you wearing the same thing you wore when you were in first grade?
Because those things were smaller.
Because we've grown, things change, right?
Things do change, but things stay the same
We
too.
have to adjust to the times. Right
But-
now,
okay.
capitalism isn't the capitalism it was in the 1900s.
But it could be.
It could be, but it's
And
not.
every time
and you're
no,
suggesting
but
that
I would say
We're saying
we have to
wait,
go back
wait,
to
wait,
that.
we've got so many
But this is
things
what I would say.
now.
This is
No,
what I would say.
technology.
Every time someone does do it like it was in the 1800s, like in Hong Kong, in 50 years, they went from fifth world country to one of the highest GDP per capita on the
there's
face
a
of the earth
reason
per
behind
person.
But
that,
they
though.
innovated.
Yes,
Did they
they,
go-
I can tell you exactly why.
And I'll tell you what, government was very involved with that.
The government they had a king, a dictator, a British dictator who was like, I'm just gonna let y'all do whatever,
Right.
just the basics. He was one of those rare instances where you have like a king that's so awesome that it just everything works out. But he made very simple rules, just basic libertarian rules: rule of law, property rights, blah blah, and y'all do you. Okay, I don't want to deal with y'all. That was it.
There was a lot of infighting.
But how did he enforce that,
You're not
though?
talking about the infighting. You're not about the
but see,
enforcement.
that's part of
You're talking about
that's
the
part of the
chaos.
process. Just like when you have kids, if you have siblings,
So
you're gonna fight with
what
each
I'm
other.
hearing here is
Like,
that we have to pick our poison. Like, do we want to go through the process of attrition? You know, the social Darwinism,
Well, hold on.
survival of the
No,
fittest?
no.
Or
No.
do we have a government that actually puts policy
No,
in
no, no.
place?
I'm not
and
talking
enforces
necessarily
order
social Darwinism.
and still get to the same point.
No, I'm saying it'll get us to a better point, but it will be a lot harder. No, yeah.
Well,
so for example, like
the same
I'll
thing.
use the FDIC for an example. People like the FDIC because you can just put your money
sure
in,
warm,
and it
fuzzy
guarantees
feeling.
your
Right,
money.
right. If it gets
Okay?
robbed, I know my money's back.
Yeah, your money's
I got
safe
you.
no matter
I
what.
got you.
So psychologically, people feel better knowing the FDIC.
But if you have more than $100,000 in that
It won't.
account,
Actually, 250.
You have to buy your own
it's
insurance.
250 now.
Yeah, they raised it after
You have to
the
buy your own
financial
insurance.
crisis, and
Okay,
then
all
they
right,
just kind of
cool.
kept it there forever.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
But so with the FDIC, it gives people a psychological thing. But before they had the FDIC, what people would do is they would put their money in a bank, and anytime they heard even the whisper of something bad going on,
Run on the bank.
And though there was a high value on leaks all the time, people would be leaking information. Oh, I think the CEO is doing something shady. Even when the CEO was doing everything right, if they even thought it would go batshit crazy, and all the money would come out. Now, it created turbulence in these small moments, but over time, all the CEOs, all the banks, they had very strict, like super transparent, super strict cultures of like, we can't do any of this shady shit. Obviously, people are always going to try to find ways to do it, but over time, every time somebody discovered one, some people had to take the hit. They had to
You think we could do away with FDIC now?
That CEO found something.
I think what I'm afraid of is that if without government involvement, I think you're right. I think we should limit it in how much we subsidize and stuff like that. But there should be government involvement because I'm afraid of monopolies. I'm afraid of.
But see, my understanding is even though monopoly is the big scary word they teach us in history class, almost every monopoly in U.S. history has been backed by the government. The government had a hand in it.
The government broke monopolies.
No, because the government
Rockefeller.
does this. They create problems and then they sell themselves to fix it. Like you need a.
Well,
they
of
create.
course. Things change. Like I said, okay, all right. If you're in first grade and you're wearing a T-shirt, and you get to the 5th grade and you're still wearing the same T-shirt, what problem are you going to have probably around that time?
It's not going to fit anymore.
It's not going to fit anymore.
Okay, but what
times change? You got to adjust.
No.
You go to the
I
store
agree
and
that times change. What has changed in that
But
time?
you wouldn't
no,
have
but I'm
known-
asking.
but
No,
you wouldn't
no,
have known
no,
that-
because look, in your
that
5th
by
grade
the time
example.
I get to 5th grade, I probably need a T-shirt until the time
Okay.
came where that bitch didn't fit you no more.
No, I would know because I would have examples and history of people growing throughout time.
Well,
See, that would be the
in
one
business
example.
and capitalism, there's hardly ever examples when
No,
technology changes.
No,
and
technology is the thing.
improves.
But see, you have to identify specifically.
We don't have something to look back and say, what did they do when that happened?
I know, but see, what's happened technologically that's made today different for people?
A
How are
lot.
people different in
The
2000
internet.
than the 1800s? But what does
The
that mean?
internet.
We had the
Faster
mail. We
communication-
had mail. Okay, why does
communication
the I'll ask you this: why does the increase in the speed of communication change everything?
Because you could, look, back in the day, whatever bank you went to, you had to go to that bank. Now
you can bank
go
from here.
anywhere.
So that's a case
at
for
home.
less regulation because you have more information.
Absolutely not. There's a lot of regulation in banking. Bro.
I know there's a lot, but I'm saying, wouldn't that be the case for less regulation today than there was previously?
No,
because you have
I
access
feel more
to.
safe. I feel safe with the.
You might feel.
the
You
example
might
you
feel
gave
more.
me, the FDIC.
Yeah.
I can communicate quicker. I think
The communicating quicker is not connected to the
Yes, it
government.
does.
That's a different. It might change how government affects, but it's not from government that the communication is
But
quicker.
there's policy in how we communicate, and what we do with our money. Like for example, if you tell me, "Hey man, I work for this company," and guess what? Next week we're gonna roll out this product, right? But nobody knows this. Or give me something negative. Oh man, we didn't get this license from the government. Man, we can't sell the service that we promised the investors. I go in.
So that's insider information.
I go in there and I withdraw my shares. I sell my shares.
All right. Okay. All right.
That's an example.
Okay, but see, even
communication,
hold on.
technology, and
I wouldn't fight
Hold on.
insider trading.
Wait.
Too. I wouldn't want to die in that battle hill.
Wait.
But there's even a case to
Hold on.
allow insider trading.
Time
How
out.
do you say technology?
No,
and communication
because look,
fashion
if
now?
you allowed insider trading, you would anytime a risk appears anybody in the company knows about, they're going to start selling, and the price will go to its rightful price much more quickly than if the CEO knows something bad is
keeps it
happening.
covered.
Yeah, and he can only do whatever he does with himself. So maybe he puts his cash in different situations, but he can't sell his shares. He can't signal in any way until the quarterly. But if he could do insider trading, anytime something bad was going to happen that he thought, he would sell. His shares would sell. Other people would see him selling. They would start selling, and the price would go until it got the risk.
Here's the problem. All right, let me talk. Okay, so
Carlo, adjust your mic. by the way.
no, both of y'all brought up
like-
good points, and I love it because you're saying the
There you
things
go.
I'm thinking. You're saying the counterpoint. I'm thinking the same thing. Here's the thing. I agree with Tony on some things. Government, too much government, it might be too bad. Let's see how back we can roll it.
You
But
need a
here's the
balance.
problem. Here's the problem with evolution. What my brother thinks is trying to get at. The problem is the reason why we have these regulations because we learned over time that if we don't have these rules in place and we scale back those rules that we put because we learn from all these mistakes, if we go back to that line, we're gonna fucking start doing the same shit
Over
and
and
end up
over.
right
Right
back
back.
to where
I
we
would
started.
push back on that in this way. There's a saying that I heard, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something like bad times create good men create good times create bad men. So
It likes like a circle. Yeah.
exact circle. I would argue that since most empires tend to fall over time, most countries, not everything that we've done till now is pushing us to a greater height, but it could be us in the fall of decay. Does that make sense?
Could be.
And I would make the case that it is probably because this country was founded on ideals of freedom and individual liberty. And a lot of things, it really
And
was.
slavery.
And slavery.
And slavery.
I'm
Which
always
is
gonna
the
throw that
opposite.
in there.
Yeah.
But you see how times have changed?
No, I
Like,
agree.
you don't even agree with that.
No, but see, I do. If you go back though, the founders did not want slavery, but they needed those colonies. They were not going
They
to join.
didn't.
Hey, if we get rid of
they
if we
needed-
get rid of government, we'll go back to
I'm not-
slavery,
remember, I'm
and
not-
women
wait,
won't be
wait.
able to vote.
First of all,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily true. But second of all, I'm not saying get rid of government. I'm saying roll it back near zero, but
All right.
maybe not zero. Let's see how far we can go.
We're
All right?
Okay.
Even with the wait,
Okay,
I wanna-
Tony.
Men will-
Tony,
men will start beating women
give
again.
me an example of a country, not a third world country. I'm talking about like a very
Modern country.
country that is close to what you're suggesting.
Okay, I'll respond to
If
that
you
with
can.
this first, and
No,
we'll say if I
tell
need
me.
to. I'll say this. What would you tell Jason if he said, "Hey, all my friends are going to go jump off a bridge. I'm going to go do it too"? Because that's
Is
what
it
you're saying
safe?
right now.
And can I do it too?
No,
No, of
you would,
course not.
Yeah, you say
Hell no,
Yeah,
man.
don't. Are you going to jump off a bridge if everyone else is?
No,
No, you don't do
absolutely.
that. So saying just because everybody else is doing it is not a good argument for why we should do it.
Okay, awesome. But
Does that make sense?
Now answer
No,
his
there's a
question.
reason why I'm asking you though.
No, I understand the reason because you're trying to make the point that if all these other countries are doing it, there must be
No,
a reason.
No. We want
No.
an example of
A
this
country
Who
that
is
no,
doing
no.
what
you
you're
already-
suggesting?
The same. I would
Who's
answer
closest to it?
Russia,
the closest to it. It's hard to say.
China.
America is probably
There's
the
no modern
there's
country that's doing
No,
that.
Hong Kong by itself. Before
No,
it's, yeah,
not modern, not right
yes,
now.
modern Hong Kong. It's got a little more regulation, and but see, that's the thing. Every society,
Everything is so limited in Hong Kong.
No, because everybody there's a natural tendency in humans or human
You know why?
societies.
You know why? Because of corruption. Because
Yes.
there's no government.
Because
like
no,
you're suggesting.
but no,
See,
look,
okay.
no, there is government
In
in Hong Kong.
Vegas,
There
if you
is
want
government
in
Hong Kong.
Vegas, if you want to start your own taxi company, could you do it?
No,
Why?
because government.
No, it has
Yeah,
nothing to do
you
with
have to get a
government.
license
Has
from
nothing
the
to do
government.
with
You don't have to get a license in Vegas.
You know why?
Don't you have
Why?
to get a license?
The
Wait,
mob.
wait.
And I know that sounds kind of funny right now, but they control that. All right, let's change the scenery. Let's go to Cancun.
Okay.
Can you go in there and buy a car and convert it into taxi and operate there on your own? No, you cannot.
They can't
They
even do
have,
Uber.
They have a cartel. They have
An actual union
a
cartel.
union. It's a union is basically what it is.
Yeah, like you have to be part of the union to drive a taxi.
And you have to have millions of dollars to be able to get bonded. And
Technically, if you think
So-
about it,
so-
a union's a government
so
type
Hong
of
Kong,
organization.
No, they
Hong
become
Kong
that.
is like
Yeah.
that. Hong Kong is like that.
No.
You have to be high in government to be able to be
or
able,
high in a cartel or union
no,
or whatever.
Hong- no.
Absolutely.
No, but see, wait,
Don't be
wait.
naive, man.
Wait,
Don't
I'm
be
not being
naive.
This is what happens. All societies, like the Bible says, just like the Garden of Eden was good for a while, but then the snakes come in. Okay, so what happens is you start off good, and then the corruption goes insane. It's like when
So
you play.
then don't reference Hong Kong
no,
anymore.
I
Then.
will.
Because
No,
now
I
you're
will.
telling me that it's full
no,
of shit
because,
now. So don't reference
no,
it
because
anymore.
then just like
I
you
like that it started just like the U.S. I mean, like our government, we started good.
Because I'm
and
sure
then
there's
now we're
lots.
shit.
No, there's lots of ideals. I'm sure that you hold in high esteem, but you fail to meet lots of times. That doesn't
Absolutely.
mean the ideal should be thrown away, right?
No.
Just because like you think you should always keep your word, but you lied that one time, well, I lied, so there's no point in telling the truth.
No.
You don't say that, right?
Right,
No, you
right.
say, I failed, but we need to try harder next time and learn
And
why
I
we made
agree
this
with
mistake.
you, but I agree with you. What I'm saying is the level of rules and policies that we have are there for a reason.
I would say, but see, the
And
reasons don't have to be good
The
reasons.
way that some of our CEOs, like, we don't even have to look that far. One of the companies, the nonprofit companies that I actually looked up to when I was a young kid,
it turned out
was
to be corrupt.
very corrupt. It was the red, not the Red Cross. Damn it! It was the one for Thanksgiving.
The Red
Salvation Army.
Salvation
Army is one of the ones that I was really let down with. You know, I volunteered my time, and I found out that the CEO makes millions of dollars.
Well, well, here, I'll say this.
And that's not a bad
But-
thing. I want people
okay.
to do well in their life.
Yes.
Right. But when you look at what they're doing in the communities, I mean, yeah, they're helping. Good, they're helping, but they're not abolishing. You know.
Well, see, but see, that's the weird thing, and that's the weird thing with this whole. Even in that
homelessness.
situation, let's say they got another CEO that was willing to accept pay for $100,000, but 10,000 less homeless people got fed. Would that have been a good thing?
But here's the thing. That's not my point. My point here is that
Well, no, I think in your mind you feel like a charity shouldn't be paying their
we
CEO
should
so much
have
money, right?
We should
like you
have
wanted to have
policies in place to govern those type of situations.
No, but see, you really, I don't think you need to, because I think people that donate to Salvation Army, when they hear about that, if they're like you and they're like, wow, this CEO is getting paid too much
Way
in their
too
mind,
much.
then they either
In my
start
opinion,
donating.
that's my opinion.
Yeah, they stop
donating.
donating. They stop donating their money, their time. They start another charity, or they just stop donating in general. And then Salvation Army will implode. Right? No one's going to actively give money to a corrupt corporation or of any kind, charity or not. Like if I'm giving monies to help homeless people and
it's
like
not?
70% is going to the CEO's pay,
Right.
you're going to
Which
have
is
to.
basically
Yeah,
what it
my
is.
instinct is going to be like, why am I giving you all this money? Now, me personally, I'll be like, if you can justify it, let's make me the case that paying you this 70% is better utilizing this 30%, because you have to think about that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
possible that this person
They-
is so
they carry
smart.
value.
Yeah,
They
they're
carry
so
value,
smart. They're so in demand. They have the
connections,
skill set
networking. Oh, yeah,
that they
yeah.
can turn this 30% and do more with it by us giving them that 70% pay.
And
You
that
actually
might be
do
the
more.
case.
Yeah,
That
but
may be
see,
the
but people
case,
don't pay
but-
attention to that, because sometimes people do have these kind of skill sets that are so in demand. You have to pay them a
They're
high
priced.
amount.
If my life
All right.
carries me into doing things like that, I'm not going to expect to make.
We can
11,
keep going
$12
back and
million
But
forth.
it's not even
We can
expect,
go
because he
back
could
and
be
forth
in
on
demand in
this.
the private sector. If you can manage thousands
you wanna
of
change
people,
topics?
hundreds of thousands.
I think we need to change topic. Okay. The point of it was to get to your point of view, scale back regulations, laws,
Government.
But I did want to make the
Not
point
too
that
much.
it can-
And I get it.
It can be very much like some of the things that y'all think, like the FDIC. The problem with that is we.
Oh yeah,
keep
that's what we're really
every-
talking about.
Yeah, that was no. I was trying to use that as a point. The FDIC always is losing money. They are never
talking about the
properly.
FCC or-
Yeah, they're never properly pricing the risk of these banks like falling over and stuff at all.
They're not losing money.
No, they are. They are always. They
the
collect.
individual
no,
banks are not, but
no,
but
no. The
government may
FDIC,
be
the
as
corporation,
an
the
insurance,
government corporation, yeah, they do insurance,
They
but
probably
they're the
do.
suckiest insurance company in the
So
history
net
of the world.
neutrality.
Right.
They have
But-
never made a dime in
got
the history
one
of
question
their
for you in
existence.
this whole-
And
I
they
believe that.
constantly lose money. In 2008, they should have seen it coming. If they were a private insurance company,
They
for
would've been
those
all
banks,
over their
they
ass.
would have been all over their ass. They would have been through the books backwards and forwards, and they would have seen this coming, and then they would have started raising the interest rates, and the banks would have been like, oh, this is costing us too much. Let's not do this risky shit. Let's find some other risky shit that's
Yeah.
going to cost us less. But there were no signals like that, because the FDIC isn't there to protect us. It's there to protect the banks.
Bank, of course.
Oh
it
no,
is.
but see, so
I
why
think
are
we
we
all know
paying
that, though.
for it? The FDIC is paid by taxpayer money to protect corporations. How is that helpful to us? It feels helpful because you
Because
feel
the
like you're
banks
never
are holding our money. So
No, okay, but see, you don't have to give them your money. And see, that's the thing.
I
Without,
don't.
if we didn't have the FDIC or all this banking regulation, we could have banks that would charge us to hold our money. And let me say this: so it's just a vault. They hold a vault.
yeah,
they,
but
right,
if my
and you put
house
their money.
burns down and my mattress burns, then
No,
my
no,
fucking money's gone.
no.
And
That's why
there's
you
no
give it.
insurance
No,
on that
so you
either.
would come to the Bank of Tony, and in a world with no banking regulation, I will charge you. Give me $5 a month, and whatever you want to put in this vault, I'll hold it for you. I got 50,000 guards. I got a tank. I got a nuclear weapon. No one's touching this shit. But all you got to pay is $5 a month.
Well, what I want to know is how come government didn't stop you from getting a tank and a nuclear weapon?